Hi there, this is just a quick video just to show you quickly how I colour in my images. Now, I apologise for the quickness of it because I'm trying to take advantage of when my little boy's asleep. And as you can see, I've already started, I already did one, and then my phone ran out of space, so I had to start again, which makes me even more limited for time. Just to quickly show you these ink pads here. They're Stampin' Up ink pads. It's just basic grey, which I've stamped my image in. It's a little bit softer than a black, but as you can see, the ink is actually stored upside down in the pads, so that when you hold it up, that the ink is all at the top ready for when you want to stamp your image, which is really, really handy. I'm just going to quickly give my stamp a little bit of a clean. There we go. Right, so first of all, we've got the blender pens, which come in a pack of 3, and we've got the Stampin' Right markers, which come in colour family packs, or some of them you can buy individually. I'm just going to quickly colour in my bunny with my Stampin' Right markers. They've got a thick end, and they've also got a thinner end, so you can write and you can colour, or write with the thick end if you want. It's nice to have a little bit thicker writing. Now, I did all this just a minute ago, but I'm just going to quickly show you again, because obviously that one didn't work out so well. So I'm just literally using my markers to colour in my image. I want to leave his tummy white and his tail a little bit white as well. Going for a yellow bunny. This is a colour called saffron, which is a paler yellow. And I'm just going to use a Daffodil Delight, which is a bit of a brighter one, if I can get the right end. And just go over some of the areas which would be darker if my bunny was out in the sunlight, if you like. And then by doing this, I just give it a little bit more. You don't have to, but I like to. You can see where I've gone outside the edges, but it just gives it a little bit more shading, a little bit more depth, which is quite nice. You can also use your blender pens on top of it. I'll use the stained edge just so you can see that it works just as well when it's stained. As long as you're on your colouring on a scrap bit of paper, you're not going to get any colour, then it's fine to use. And you can use that if you want, just to pull the colour from the image into the white areas. Now you can see that his belly is actually a little bit more grey, so I've pulled it in from the outlined image. To use the blender pens as well, you can also use your big ink pads. This is a soft suede one, so I'm going to do a brown bunny next. And if you just push on the lid, as I said, because the ink's stored upside down, if you push on the lid, then it gives you some colour just there. And you can actually use that, use your blender pens, make sure it's coming off clean, and you can actually lift the ink off the lid and then colour in your bunny with your blender pen. So I'll just do the darker areas that I want first. So just underneath the chin and on the arm, just literally as if he was standing in the sunlight. And these are the areas that wouldn't get as much sun, so they're a little bit darker. And obviously the little folds and things. And now I've coloured in my darker bits, I'm going to go for my slightly lighter bits. So I just literally keep colouring with the pen, because as you colour, it gets lighter. You'll see in a second. As the ink starts to run out that I've lifted it off, it starts to get a bit lighter. There we go. And then if you want to go over and put a little bit more brown on it, you can. You just lift some more ink off your pad and then just think, oh, I want this bit here a little bit darker, and you just go over it and blend it all in together. There you go. Now, if you don't have the ink pads and you only have the pens, it's fine. You can do the same with the pens. I'm going to use the pink to show you. And you can just use one of your acrylic blocks, like the one I've got the bunny on. Use your thicker side of the pen, and if you just colour a little bit on the block, because they're water-based, it will come off. Make sure your pen's coming out nice and clean. and then you can just lift the colour off of that. Because they're water based, it makes it ever so much easier. Now, heaven forbid my colouring is absolutely diabolical today, and I do apologise. Like I said, I'm just rushing it a little bit too much really. And there's your brown bunny, and as you can see, it gives it a really nice, the blender pens give it a really nice kind of shaded effect, where you can see that lighter area and that darker area. Unfortunately, my camera's a little bit on the darker side and doesn't really bring it up quite as well as I'd hoped. But yeah, you can just see that kind of shading effect, almost as if he's got actual fur on. So now, I think that's the only colouring technique I was going to show you. So, I was going to quickly just show you, if you don't have the Stampin' Up pads and you have other pads you want to use, and obviously you can't press in on a normal pad, the only one I've got is a Versamark, so I can't really colour in and show you because it won't really come out very well. But you can just use that and use your lid and literally just pop a little bit on your lid like that, because your lid will be a plastic, presumably, and if it's water-based ink, you can just lift it off with your blender pens the same way as I did before with the lid. And then you can just make your card with it. So I've got one I did before in the brown. It's a little bit of a lighter bunny, this one, and I've already stuck it onto a background which has a stamped image on it as well, which just gives it a little bit more something something. So I'm just going to use my, wherever I put my stuff, very quickly to create myself a little card. So I'm just going to put a little bit of ribbon around there. Just going to tie it in a knot. I'm going to tie it in a double knot so it makes sure it stays. Get my snail to stick my image on. There we go. And then I'm just going to get my sentiment and I'm going to stamp it in my basic grey again. Line it up. I've got my grid paper to help me line it up. There we go. I've just used a little sentiment from my my stamps at Fabulous Phrases, which has lots and lots of phrases in it. And this one says forever, which is, I think, nice and general. And just to give it a little bit something more, I've got some rhinestones here. To stick on. And I'll just use a tiny little one first. And then next to that, a slightly bigger one. And these are self-adhesive rhinestones, so you literally just pick them up and pop them on. And I'll just trim my ends a little bit on this ribbon. And this is seam binding ribbon.